Good evening, sir.
Well, it's certainly evening.
I have assured people this end that we'll keep this one under half an hour, um, because neither of us feel much like talking about the Arsenal Everton game. But I will say on that right now, over to you. I didn't see much of it. Partly through circumstance, partly through the dawning realization that my worst fears were being played out, and I thought, I could do without subjecting myself to this as it's happening in the moment. Lots of moments. So anyway, take it away. Tell me, you did watch the game. So,
Yeah.
what was your kind of talk us through it, your takeaways and so on.
Well, it started out as a textbook example of essentially new manager bounce. Everton have obviously been a club in a little bit of turmoil lately, and although Dyche coming in is not necessarily the most glamorous, he is bloody effective when he wants to be, and he had a couple of players he's obviously worked with before. And I think the noticeable thing was they just started with way more energy, and we never managed to get up into top gear.
Why was that? Was that down to Everton or just too many of our players with an off day?
I think it's a bit of both. To my naive, sort of naked eye, it just we did look a little bit lethargic. And there is an element. I think I messaged you at some point and said, well, even after the first half, no real need to panic, and the players aren't panicking. They're sticking to their tasks. Things could have been done a little bit quicker, but it was what it was. But then, reading some analysis afterwards, it was noticeable that Everton's midfield three stuck as a kind of flat midfield three, and that just meant that we were outnumbered the whole time. Yes, they defended deep, and yes, they rode their luck a couple of times. They did rely on set pieces, but at the same time, we just weren't able to exert enough of the right pressure. If you know what I mean.
Do you think Partey was carrying an injury? Because I read somewhere that 60-minute substitution seemed quite almost preordained.
Well, he didn't seem it from just watching it, and if anything, I wanted Odegaard and Xhaka almost to drop a little bit deeper and give him an option, because we were playing with that classic, Martinelli and Saka right out wide, and then Odegaard and Xhaka kind of filling in. But actually, that wasn't where the space was. The space was a little bit deeper because Everton was so sort of regimented with their back four and the midfield that we needed to somehow exploit that and draw that out. I mean, Jorginho coming on was fine because we were dominating the ball. We had so much possession. It wasn't necessarily a crazy.
It wasn't. But was that our possession was a little bit impotent?
Aimless, a bit aimless. Yeah, absolutely. One thing that kept bugging me through the game was Saka would get the ball out wide, and no one seemed to be in support of him. It was up to him to basically take the fullback on, sometimes also a midfielder with him as well.
So
and there was no overlap for wide, and there was no Odegaard trying to get closer.
I've seen also written that was probably Ben White's worst performance.
I think it's harsh to single anyone out.
Too many players were below par. But listen,
yeah, exactly.
You are going to get that in a 38 game season. So people compared the numbers we put out were very similar to the Leeds away game.
Yeah, I mean it absolutely stank of that game. And I remember, I went to Ellen Road and I came out and just sort of said, if you can't be good, be lucky. And we were that day. We absolutely didn't deserve 3 points, and we got it. And that's why this defeat, we've lost 2 games this season. one to Man United and one to Everton. Well, the Man United one, we played excellently and perhaps just went a bit gung-ho towards the end. And obviously, we had a fairly good goal chalked off.
Lost it trying to win it kind of thing.
And that's why I think it's interesting that, there's been a few people who react over the top, but that's just people, isn't it? Somewhere in the middle is the sense that Everton deserved it. They were more intense.
I don't see this. I cannot see this result in isolation. This result, I will decide how this loss against Everton feels after the Brentford game.
Yeah. I'm with you.
If we drop points there, then it's terminal. You have to think in terms of league title. I would say. I think what's happened is we've reached our peak, and it's going to be a battle now to kind of fall over the line kind of thing. So you're looking, then you'll be looking at 5th place, right? Who's in 5th place and how many points have we got on them? And of course, it's our delightful friends along the high road.
More on them later.
Yes. So I will not see, because again, like last season, it was we lost in what's the word? Spells, in patches. Streaks. Yeah, streaks. That's it, streaks. So, and this is slightly different. We did recover from the Leeds away game, but we did draw at Southampton. I think was that the next game, the away game at Southampton.
I think so,
and then we got lucky with the fixture list because we had a home game against a far weaker Nottingham Forest than we'll see up at their ground. And that's listen, Brentford are good enough to beat us. They've won at City. However, they've only won 2 away games in the Premier League this season, so they're not the best travellers. Their home form is far kind of outweighs their away form, but they are dangerous, and we need to be on our mettle. We need to be up for it, otherwise we will come a cropper. But it's kind of a good game to have now.
I'm just so glad we're at home next.
Yes, well, that's interesting because we've got 8 away games left and 10 home games left. I think that's how it pans out. So we have played more away games to this point, which is quite good. But yeah, home against Brentford. Again, we just have to win it.
Yeah.
Draw, no. Defeat, obviously, no. We have to win it. And I think that would get the momentum back. The Everton loss would be forgotten then. It'd be put down as like a bad day at the office, which is fair enough. There were mitigating circumstances there. I mean, I drove you to distraction in the build-up to the Everton game because I was like, even from before Lampard was sacked, I was thinking he's going to get sacked after this game, and there's going to be a new manager in place for our game, and that's it. Yep. And that crowd can be the most hostile crowd in the Premier League, and when they're up for it, and you look at their team sheet, and it's not a bad team.
They're a good team. Yeah, they're a good team.
It's not a bad team. You'd say they lack for goals, like. At the sharp end, Calvert-Lewin's not been fit for much of the season, so that would account for that possibly. But you just, I thought we would get an absolute battering physically, not on the scoreline, but and it would be how we'd fare against that. And I think everyone said we were lucky to be 0-0 at half time.
Well, they had far better chances.
Yeah, so we didn't deserve anything out of the game, and it was about a minute before they scored their goal. I actually said out loud, "Do you know what? Let's just take the point and go.
Yeah, well.
Let's take the point." And then I was like, "Right, okay, now I definitely take the point." But yeah, so look, What would you do in terms of team selection for Brentford, based on?
Well, I don't know, because the other slightly worrying thing from the Everton game was that, and what worries me sort of overall contextually is we've now lost 2 games in a row, albeit one in the cup against City when we changed our side more than they had theirs. But we have lost 2 games in a row. And it's that thing, isn't it? You know, is it a blessing? It is obviously a blessing that we've had a consistent selection for most of the season, generally.
We have seven players have started every game,
and that's great. But at the same time, that there isn't necessarily an alternative way of doing things, and it's sort of ironic today that Spurs beat City, although it was at Spurs, where City have got this weird hoodoo the same way we have at Everton, because for the game at the Etihad, obviously Spurs took the lead. City were booed off at half time, but they changed it, and Mahrez in the second half came to life because they changed the way they were doing things. They brought Alvarez on and they pressed, and they just managed to like steamroll basically Spurs in the second half. Even with the changes we made, we weren't really doing anything different. You know, it wasn't like there was all of a sudden...
It wasn't a change of formation.
There wasn't a change of formation. There wasn't a change of personnel that was going to bring something very, very different. Zinchenko's frustration at the end was very telling, because he's normally the sort of calm head. He had no... And that's the thing, even with the way he steps into midfield, the way Everton's midfield was set up basically negated any kind of foothold he or Partey could really put into the game.
Was it similar to the Newcastle defensive setup against us then? And do you think other teams now will look at that and say, right, okay, we can nullify their... like, so Brentford, I can't see Brentford setting out like that. I think...
well, but they will, because they'll sit on and try and hit on the counter.
Yeah.
And Buemo will just run and run and run and run and run. And Tony's just a really good Premier League forward, isn't he?
Yeah. But City won't obviously do that.
No. And then Villa after that seemed to be handbrake off, just go for it, see what happens. Kind of.
I heard some people complain about the pitch, that the pitch did not suit our game at all.
Probably not. But at the same time, come on, really? That's not an excuse, is it?
I think that people, because it was such a below par performance, an echo to I know Leeds and Southampton games, but we know, yeah.
Well, the Southampton one was a funny one because I thought we played okay, and
we should have been 2 or 3-0 up by 30 minutes.
There was some, I mean,
yes,
Lianco got away with absolute murder in that game.
Yeah.
But hey, that's by the by. For Brentford, I don't know. The problem is, would I look to change it? I mean, maybe, but at the same time, what the changes that we make aren't necessarily going to do.
Well, I thought that Martinelli was getting tired, as in, I did want him to sit out a couple of games. I thought because he always started, even in some of the cup games he started, and I'm like, he's been overplayed. His game is so explosive that he needs, and it relies on that explosion as well. He needs to have that in his tank. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see Trossard start the game against Brentford. It's a shame that Emile is injured again, because you were talking about, he is the one player on the bench who would offer something different to what would be starting the game. He will carry the ball in a way that Ødegaard wouldn't carry the ball.
And Jesus as well.
Yes, of course.
Those two players, just like you say, different dimensions.
Yeah.
You know, the team that we've had is great and has got us so far, especially once Jesus went out of the team. But I think to get them back is going to be...
Well, it could be in 3 games' time.
Yeah.
You know, we may just have to sit out 3 games without Jesus, and there's an international break, isn't there? And then...
Do you want to talk about those 3 games? Brentford, Man City, Villa. So we've got Brentford, London rivals, Ivan Toney, courting the press's favour. Man City at home, which is just an absolute humdinger of a game now. And then Villa, where Emery comes back, or we face off against him again in the league. I could do without so much narrative.
Well, hang on a minute, but our season has benefited from narrative so far, apart from the Everton game. Yeah. That was the first time that kind of narrative worked against us, or that it continued. There wasn't the plot twist that we'd hoped for, or the redemption that we'd hoped for. That's for another day, another season. Well, okay. Let's look at the. I did hold on to this. I said we've got 8 games away from home left in the league, right? Yes. They are at Villa. This is an order. I don't know the dates, but Villa, Leicester, Fulham, Liverpool, West Ham, Man City, Newcastle, Forest. Now, yeah. I could name out 8 teams. That's not the worst lump of 8 teams away that we've got to visit that you could map out. Villa play quite open against Leicester, the same. Fulham away, I think they'll. Sorry, yes, no, absolutely, it'll be tough. But I think they'll come at us, which will suit us.
Yeah.
If we can get past that first 10-15 minutes, which we don't. Liverpool away, I mean, you just don't know. They'll obviously have players back for our game.
They're a basket case.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's very, very, very flat.
I mean, Van Dijk hasn't been playing, has he? Is he back?
No.
Right, so he'll be back for our game, obviously. So, and Nunes will be on a scoring streak, as will Gakpo.
Salah will obviously score.
No, for sure.
Do you know since the World Cup? Do you know who Liverpool's top scorer is?
Have they scored?
It's the Leicester centre-back who scored 2 own goals.
Oh, yeah. Excellent.
He's their top scorer since the World Cup. I saw that earlier. I thought it was
that is insane.
It's crazy.
That is. So after Liverpool away, we've got West Ham away. And again,
tough,
we do all right against them. But yes, it will be tough. And then we've got City away, Newcastle away, and then Forest away. And I think the Forest away game, I mean, hopefully, by the way they're playing now, they'll be safe by then.
That's what we've got to hope for. We've got to hope Forest are safe, and they're just kind of, they're maybe experimenting with all the 50 gazillion players they've got. And
it would be nice if Newcastle had to beat us to keep the top 4 hopes alive, because
so then they come out.
Yes.
Yeah.
City away. I mean, so Villa away, I think those first 3, Villa away, Leicester away, Fulham away, then Liverpool, West Ham, Man City, then Newcastle, Forest. But by comparison then, our 10 home fixtures: Brentford, City.
Tricky. Very just impossible to predict.
Yeah, we should be beating Brentford at home. Sorry, that's every season we should be beating Brentford at home. I'm not saying we will. I'm saying every season we should be beating Brentford at home. Man City, I don't know when the last time we beat them is. I've no idea. Then it's Bournemouth, Palace, Leeds, Southampton at home. I mean, Bournemouth, Palace, Leeds, Southampton. There's 4 home. If you're going to win the league, that's 12 points.
You got to beat that.
And then it's Chelsea. Now, you like your narratives, so there's a little narrative there.
Mudryk hat trick, anyone?
Yeah. Jorginho winner, penalty last minute.
Oh, don't! Oh, it goes every way, doesn't it? Aubameyang off the bench.
Yeah. Well, if I don't know, he'll be in. I don't know. He won't wherever he'll be by then. Then it's Brighton, Wolves,
Brighton.
and Everton. Hang on, is Everton out?
No, Everton's not been rearranged. That's just there.
Right, so that's why it's on the end. That's why it's
Wolves,
on the end.
Wolves is the last game. Everton is probably going to be in the next FA Cup slot.
Oh, right, good. So that's the next FA Cup slot is a midweek, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So that would have been picked, scheduled already if it was then. Maybe it'll be the.
Well, you say that. I mean, they're just going to leave it to the last minute. I found it quite ironic that this weekend is the Premier League's greener futures push or whatever, when they set get lots of games to take place when it's almost impossible for fans to get public transport home and, you know, be a bit greener. But yeah, less said about that. About
like they care. Right, Man City and Chelsea. Out of those 10 games, we should be winning the other 8. Fortress Emirates, we should be winning the other 8, and I'd like to see us like remain undefeated in the other 2. Because you could argue that the onus is on City, not yet, but the onus is more on City. Would City who'd be happier with a draw against between Arsenal and City in 10 days?
Oh, us.
Because it keeps them at arm's length.
It keeps them at arm's length, yeah. And it's so surprising. I didn't watch Spurs City today because I didn't want to. But reading online that there are a lot of questions being asked of City, way more than there have been for, you know, 4, 5, maybe even 6 years. And apart from in the Champions League, like their league form and their winning of the League Cup has just not been in question. Whereas now, you know, it's, you know, what's this hoodoo at Spurs Stadium that you've got?
Well, don't forget,
making you worse.
Yeah. Well, don't forget they went to they played at home to a really crap Everton and drew.
Yeah.
Well, you know, quite recent. No, I catch that deliberately. We went to a much better Everton away and lost.
But yeah, if any team didn't want to face Everton at a particular time, it was yesterday. And that was
I looked at before the game kicked off and the teams were announced. I looked at the Man City team and I messaged my mate and I said, that's not the strongest team. If I was up against, if that's the team he puts out in 10 days' time, I will not be disappointed. De Bruyne on the bench, I think he's carrying a knock. I think he's carrying an injury. There's why would you put in a tough away game? Why would you not start with De Bruyne? And there was that issue when he went away he missed a game, and you know, there's something there. I read today that Haaland and Pep don't get along. Cancelo went to Bayern Munich under a cloud.
One of the most creative players at the club.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
So, and I looked at Foden was ill overnight, so he didn't. You got to think he would have played. And I looked at the bench, and I thought, there's not a lot on the bench because Alvarez and Haaland started. That's De Bruyne was on the bench, obviously, and I think outside of him, I'm like, yeah, that City team's not. And I thought, well, there you go. I'm saying it now. They'll be 3-0 up inside the first 15 minutes. No, I didn't watch it either. It's stressful enough watching my own team without adding to the stress levels. Watching Spurs do us a favour. I mean, I must admit, I did when I saw the goal go in. I did yes, come on, and then immediately think that City would win 4-1.
I just assumed, that they'd scored too early.
So I'm going through our fixtures, and I'm thinking, well, we should win 8 of our last 10 home games. But this is all on the assumption that City are going to put this run together that everyone keeps talking about, this fabled run of 15 consecutive wins. Well,
it's not there yet.
We've knocked off another game each this weekend, and we're 5 points clear with a game in hand. So it's the status as you were. I mean, I'd have taken that at the start of the weekend. I absolutely would have taken that at the final whistle in our game. Yeah. And it's okay. What has happened is United and Spurs have obviously won, so they've kind of closed up a little bit. Liverpool and Chelsea are just not in the equation now, in the conversation now at all. Newcastle drops another 2 points. I think they've only lost 1 game this season, but they've drawn 10.
Yes.
So you've got to think if they start, they'll have to compromise that defence if they want to win more games. Yeah. Because obviously that they've got the balance not quite right. I mean, they're doing.
So should we be more worried about Man United?
Yeah, this is the I don't know. I mean, I was delighted Casemiro got sent off because the thing is they're playing a really poor Leeds team twice.
Yes, back to
and then Leicester. at home. There
But they
is
could be on
3
a roll
games
as
out,
well.
but they have only got Fred and Sabitzer as central midfielders because obviously Eriksson and McTominay are injured and Casemiro is now suspended. So it definitely makes them weaker. There's no question about that. It's whether it makes them weak enough to be got at. I would like them to drop some points, like a couple of draws would be great, you know. Right, I'm going to.
I quite like that Sabitzer when he played for Leipzig, and I watched him in the Champions League, and he was quite tidy, not afraid to. He just seemed involved in the game quite a lot. I think he could be suited to the Premier League quite well, but he's obviously gone to Bayern, and Bayern are just an embarrassment of riches. So they can loan a player like him to Man United.
Well, he's not kicked on like that was
that's it. Whereas Cancelo from City gets an assist in his first game. So, and they reckon that is just purely because he's not happy at being dropped.
Yeah.
And Guardiola doesn't
like an unhappy face or something like that.
But he is an unhappy face.
He is actually, isn't he?
He's so unhappy most of the time.
So I haven't got them in a list, but I've got City's remaining fixtures in front of me on the BBC. So they're home to Villa. Oh, so they play the day after us. They're home to Villa. Yeah, they're home to Villa on the Sunday, 4:30 kickoff, and then they come to us. Then the 3 days after that, they're away to Forest, and that's not an easy game now. I mean, if it was us going away to Forest after City, I'd be thinking, I wish I'd played them away from home first half of the season.
Yeah.
They picked up a couple of decent players. I can't remember their names now. I was really thinking, he's quite good.
Well, they've got Navas in goal now.
Yeah, which is odd because is Heaton injured or something?
It was Henderson.
Henderson,
injured.
Sorry.
Yeah, he is injured. Yeah.
Right.
Well, Brennan Johnson's the one. He
scored
young
a cracker.
homegrown lad. He's just incredible.
So then, and I think this is what we might have. I don't know. We've got the Europa League, but City will be obsessing over the Champions League, or Guardiola will be anyway. So after the City Forest away game, then they've obviously it's Champions League, so they've got Leipzig away. But in the league, I'll stick with the league. So then Man City are away at Forest. Then it's away to Bournemouth. So that's an easy game for them, I think. Interesting though, 4th of March, they're home to Newcastle. Now they drew up at St James's. Then they're away to Palace. Then they got the Champions League. Then they're home to West Ham. 1st of April, nobody's full. Home to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Away to Southampton. Home to Leicester. Away to Brighton. Home to us.
But the thing is, I think especially even after today, we can look at all the permutations. But I think what today has shown is that all the teams can be got at. So,
City's last 3 games. I'm starting with the 3rd one out, yeah? Away to Everton. Home to Chelsea is their last home game.
Oof.
Away to Brentford is their last game.
Away to Brentford?
Yes.
But,
those three
motivation be?
Those 3 games are tough.
And our last 3 are Forest, Wolves. I know Forest. I'm pretty sure Forest is the last away game and Wolves is the last home game.
Right. So home to Brighton, away to Forest, home to Wolves.
Problem is, Brighton just do my head in.
Yeah, but we got two home games in the last 3. They've got 2 away games in the last 3. And even if the Everton game is rescheduled for later on, it's a home game as well. Yeah. So, I mean, come on. Our last 3, I'll be taking over their last 3 all day long.
Yeah.
They're all of them, in fact.
I feel like you're looking too far ahead.
No. It's all about keeping that. That's why it's all about keeping that distance at the moment.
Yeah, that's why beating Brentford on Saturday.
They could, absolutely. But at one point, I messaged a Man United mate of mine this morning, and I said, "I've this fear that City would beat us in 10 days to go top."
Yeah. I thought that.
you know, and it's like, it's a nice big gap. We'd have a game in hand, but it's a nice big gap we keep thinking we've got. But hang on a minute.
No.
In 2 games, we could, only because it's City that we're up against, we could be second. And I think that would be some test of character, that would. We've been top for so long, to look at the table and see City top, City above us. I don't think I've got the character for that. I don't know about the players.
But we're all expecting it. That's the funny thing, isn't it? We're all waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, there was a funny tweet on the BBC commentary on Saturday, and it was an Arsenal fan, obviously, about 5 minutes to go in the game, and he sent a message in, and they posted it on their feed, and it was along the lines of, it was good while it lasted. As a true Arsenal fan, I know this is the beginning of the end. I'd just like to pass up my congratulations to Pep and Manchester City on a well-earned league title. And that was it.
That's aged well.
Yeah, I thought. Well, yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well. Yeah. At least I didn't go. That's the main thing. I didn't go. It would have been a 6 o'clock start in the morning.
I should have gone, because I have a great record at Goodison. I've seen it. I've seen Danielson bang one in from 30 yards in the first minute, and we go on to win
7-1.
6. I think it was 6.
6-1.
We scored 6.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember watching that at the pub in Lincoln.
There you go. I was there that day. I've seen Keown sent off there, but
I've seen him win there.
Hang on for a win.
Might have been. It might have been the last time we won.
2017.
Yeah, something like that. Is that 5-2?
Yeah, it was.
I remember goals. Lots of goals.
Ozil, Sanchez, and
Monreal. Was Monreal in there?
Don't know. I don't know.
I can't remember. But hey.
Anyway.
Brentford next week at home. What I'm glad of is the defeat hopefully will sharpen everyone in terms of generating an atmosphere, because and I know atmosphere has been consistently good, obviously this season, not least because of the Ashburton Army, but there can be, if we'd beaten Everton, Brentford coming in to our place, we would have been forgiven for it being a little bit flat. It's not on the telly.
I'd go back to the Fulham game, Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff, was it? I think.
Yeah.
Atmosphere was just mental.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for.
And I think today's result will help.
I think so massively. I think we all know that we've now got a job to play. Yes. No, I think because we're all privately worried that. Yeah, we don't want this to turn into a streak and all of a sudden fall away.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Come on, 33 minutes.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. As long as we actually say goodbye now and do goodbye,
Yeah.
So I might watch Match of the Day.
And
later.
Thank you to Harry Kane, doing what he does for the club that he loves.
I loved
trying to help his club win the league.
Yeah. I loved it. Surely there's a trophy in that. If that happens, there's a trophy and a medal in it for him somewhere. I did like Martin Tyler's response when he, in his post-goal commentary, said, "And he's Spurs through and through." He's not, though, is he? He's not, because he was the only trophy he's ever celebrated was when he was an Arsenal fan. And there's photographic evidence.
His picture is doing the rounds so much on social media. It's unreal.
I wonder what his dad thinks.
His dad's a gooner, is that right?
Yeah.
I don't know. He's probably loving it today.
Yeah, for once, probably the only time it's happened in like 10 years, a decade. Both sets of fans happy with the Spurs win.
2011, he scored his first goal.
Yeah, 15th of December 2011.
Yeah. One decade wonder.
Yeah. No, he was an Arsenal. He was an Arsenal kid, wasn't he? Like on one of our underage teams. But anyway, right, okay, right. That's it. Let's go. Where's the?
3 o'clock.
Yeah. See you on Saturday. Up the arse.
Come on.